and I
Well,
accept that.
so, well, we're going now to Denmark. Vamos a Dinamarca, vamos a Copenhague, muchas pronunciaciones. Vamos a hablar con Nis Kieglast. Me va a ayudar con la pronunciación de su nombre, bueno, del grupo periodístico DR de Dinamarca, ¿no? Que es un conglomerado de comunicaciones que ayer tuvimos esa noticia espectacular que Dinamarca, bueno, abre sus puertas, levanta todas las restricciones, que es algo, yo creo que es algo muy importante, es algo una de las noticias más importantes del año, incluso el pasaporte sanitario, ¿no? Así que, bueno, vamos a hablar con Nis, que es periodista desde Copenhague, en Dinamarca, que nos va a contar. Así que, Nis, thank you so much for being here with us, for your time, and welcome, and this is wonderful news. I think it's one of the most important news in the last months, and press is not giving the proper relevance to it.
Well, it's symbolically important, I think. At least it's somehow we've reached the point where at least for now, life is back to normal as it was before the epidemic came in Denmark, and I think that's a pretty big thing.
Sí, bueno, es una noticia importante, simbólica, y antes que la pandemia vino a Dinamarca. Yo tengo muchas preguntas para hacerte. I have many questions. One of them is, ¿qué es lo que hizo Dinamarca distinto a los demás países, ¿no? Si es que hizo algo distinto. What Denmark did different from other countries? If there is something.
Well, that's a very big question. I think two main things that we did different. During the epidemic, we have had a test and trace regime that has been very at a larger scale than almost any country in the world. We've tested maybe 50 times more people than they did in Argentina per day, if you compare to population. Also, we have had like a social security system in Denmark. So when people get sick, they stay home from work because they can actually, get money anyway. And here to reach this situation today, it's also very important that we have a very high vaccination rate. Around or almost 90% of adults or over 12 years old has been vaccinated now. So that reduces transmission.
Bueno, dijo que el país tuvo la posibilidad de organizarse bien, que hizo la gente quedó en casa, porque la gente tuvo la posibilidad de acceder a una ayuda del gobierno. Entonces, por esa razón pudo sostenerse sin sus trabajos y además, una de las cosas más importantes es que tiene una tasa de vacunación muy elevada. The vaccination, we can say that vaccination is one of the causes for this success, right? I mean, we can affirm that. Podemos afirmar que la vacunación ha sido el elemento fundamental para ese éxito.
Well, vaccination means two things. It means reduced transmission to some extent, maybe. Well, the numbers are different, but maybe 80% less transmission of the disease and so on. But most importantly, it means that people get less sick when they actually catch the coronavirus. So if in the Danish authorities, they look at not as much at infection numbers these days, but they look at hospitalizations. And I just looked at the number this morning. We have 29 people in Denmark are in the ICU, and I think Argentina it's over 2,000. Yes.
Yeah. That's the 29 is absolutely nothing. It's like any other disease, because there are a lot of diseases as well. It's normal to have I don't have the number today, but it's about that. Yes.
And so the Danish authorities, they downgraded the disease from, it had a status of being critical to society's life, which meant that you could have all these restrictions.
Okay.
And they downgraded it to just a dangerous disease. We have to look at it and see how it develops, but it's not, you can't justify restrictions when it's just a dangerous disease.
I ask you 1 minute, I will translate not to lose something. Bueno, lo más importante que él dice que, bueno, que en Dinamarca en ese momento hay 29 pacientes de COVID no internados. Entonces, bueno, es realmente un éxito absoluto, ¿no? Y decía que, bueno, que los números en Argentina son más o menos 2000. Pero bueno, eso tiene que ver con la asistencia médica también y la forma como el gobierno encaró. Y dijo que sí, que la vacunación definitivamente baja la cantidad de contagio, ¿no? The question came because, well, there are many criticism about the vaccines, that they don't work, and if they don't work, why do you need the passport, etc. I would like to know, to go into a little bit into the political reading, you know, the political analysis of the country during the pandemic, because in most of the countries, depending if the government were like right or left oriented, we have different approach towards the pandemic, of course, like the lockdown, for example, pro and anti-vaccine, pro and anti-lockdowns, economy versus healthy, etc. Like just in a simple way to make people understand who doesn't know, because I try to understand the context. I think it's very important what happened yesterday in Denmark, this announcement, because we all wish that it's all the countries, no? So how was the political battle around the crisis during the pandemic? Le estoy preguntando cómo fue la configuración política durante la pandemia, que en algunos países hay izquierda, derecha, los países son pro o contra el lockdown, o pro o contra la vacunación, algunos países más abiertos, ¿no? Administration of Merkel is not the same of administration of Trump. By the way, he lost the elections a little bit because of that, or Bolsonaro in Brazil, or Kirchner in Argentina. How about in Denmark, this political politics?
Well, I think Denmark differs from many other countries in that aspect, because almost all political parties have backed the restrictions that were. Of course, there has been some debate about details and you know, how fast should you open and so on, but it's been very minor. Basically both the right and the left have agreed that restrictions should be put in place and supported it. And also with the vaccines, there's been broad support from all political parties that it's a good thing and people should do it. Of course, it's voluntary, but that people should do it. So we haven't had that much of a political battle about this, and I think that's been important for people's trust in general. The trust in both, you know, the people back the restrictions when they were here. And a lot of people have taken the vaccines because they trust that, you know, it's the recommendation of the authorities, and this is an okay thing to do.
Yeah, that's the point. There was like some consensus, because in some countries there were like a division 50-50 and some people against, and people lost a lot of energy in political issues more than in sanitary decisions, and there were no consensus, not always. Bueno, entonces traduzco, I translate. Él está diciendo que sí, que por lo general la política, bueno, hubo pros y contras, pero que hubo un consenso, que la población tomó las medidas y que respetó por lo general, y bueno, de cierta forma siguió un mismo camino, ¿no? Entonces, por esa razón, quizá en Dinamarca hubo esa posibilidad de salir adelante. Well, I have a very delicate question for you now. Because it's my analysis, I will be responsible for what I say now, but I would like to know your point of view as well. I didn't see yesterday a lot of information, a lot of noise about this in the world press, and I read from many languages normally. I didn't really see a lot of impact, you know, as it should be, because it's not just you know, it's one of the most important news for me in the last year, definitely. You know? And do you think that's what I'm asking myself? Why? is there interest of the countries to open, or are there other economic interests or political interests behind? Why? And why this information is released exactly so close to the 11th of September, which of course will get all the attentions, no? Do you have this sensation as I have, that it's a little bit strange, or it's just a coincidence? Why such a news doesn't have the impact worldwide? Because it should be something that paralyze all the press, all the day, all the social media. I didn't see that at all, because I was searching for information yesterday and it was hard to find. Entonces, le pregunto, I will translate while you elaborate your answer. Le pregunto por qué no hubo tanta repercusión en la prensa mundial, porque no he visto tantas cosas. Yo he visto algunos medios que lo reflejaron, pero bueno, es una noticia muy importante, que debería haber tenido una proyección muy importante. Entonces, le pregunto si tiene alguna connotación política, intereses económicos, o por qué razón esa noticia no tuvo tanta difusión. Please.
Okay, that's a big question. I don't think there has been any plan to, lay low and keep quiet about it from the Danish perspective. The reason it was yesterday was basically that the legislation about restrictions in Denmark had a sunset clause when it was adopted like a year and a half ago. So the legislation ran out yesterday. So the politicians would have to decide whether they would introduce it again. And they saw no reason to prolong the restrictions, because the numbers are what the numbers are. The
world is not reflecting that, and it should. It's not. It's not in the. There's not a lot of space for this. I had to search very, very hard to find the info yesterday.
Yeah, the reaction of the international press, I can't tell what their reasonings were. Of course, the anniversary of 9/11 could mean something. That's how news work.
Yeah.
But also that it's very tempting to say, okay, in Denmark now coronavirus crisis is totally over, and well, we can't be sure.
No.
Everything is going fine now, but winter is still coming. So there could be some, even though everybody is better protected, we could still have new restrictions in December or whatever if the situation changes.
See, my question was, for example, if all the countries, they don't want to show that so much in order to people or their governments or whatever lobby forces not to be like trying to do the same and trying to force to pressure to open other countries as well so far, especially because there is of course the industry, the pharmacological industry that has interested in that as well, and other interests. I will translate for the public. Bueno, ha dicho que sí, que fue una cuestión se legisló ayer en la Cámara en Dinamarca, entonces, no había razón para permanecer cerrado, entonces por esa razón se abrió, y está diciendo que no ve nada muy llamativo en esa no reacción de la prensa internacional a esa noticia. Simplemente es una noticia, y es lo que pasó allí, y además hay un riesgo también. And my last question for you, I would like to present you two scenarios, okay? Like we say, the worst case scenario. First, if because this is a very risky plan as well, because Britain did that in the beginning and it failed, remember? So let's imagine two scenarios, for example. Let's imagine that this could open very well, could work very well. For example, like in 1 or 2 months, the results are perfect, the economy goes high, and well, there is no like a new endemic or pandemic situation or sanitary crisis. And the second scenario, let's suppose that it will be a catastrophic decision, and after 1 or 2 months, everybody, all the population would be infected again. For example, I'm speculating these two worst case scenario and best case scenario, for example. No, what do you think that could happen in each of these scenarios? Le estoy preguntando, entonces le estoy planteando dos escenarios posibles. El primer escenario, que eso funcione muy bien, con mucho éxito, with a lot of success. Dentro de 1 o 2 meses el país esté creciendo económicamente, pleno empleo, y bueno, que pueda salir adelante, que no haya problemas sanitarios, que no sea más de 29 personas, no more than 29 people in the hospitals, etc. Y el segundo escenario sería un escenario desastroso, catastrophic escenario, ¿no? Que ese plan sea horrible, que dentro de 2 meses entonces, bueno, haya un caos total y que haya una nueva infección, a new reinfection muy extendida. Entonces, ¿qué podría pasar en los dos escenarios? What could happen in these two situations, in your opinion, in the country?
Well, I don't have to have an opinion because we spoke to our health minister about those scenarios yesterday.
Oh, interesting.
And he basically said, well, okay, if we come to a situation where the health system is collapsing, we're under pressure, we will of course reintroduce restrictions.
Okay, that's reasonable. Absolutely reasonable. Yeah, why not? Take a little risk and see. Yeah.
But the logic right now is that we're hoping, at least, that we'll probably see a new wave of infections in the fall and in the winter, but that it will not result. But it will be we hope that it will be under control, and it will not result in the hospitals being overburdened. So yeah, that's the logic. But there is a will to reimpose restrictions if necessary.
Okay, and well, there is another piece that I have to ask you to understand the whole picture. I'm just going to translate that. Bueno, me ha dicho que no hace falta especular porque ayer estuvieron hablando, la prensa estuvo hablando con el ministro de Salud de Dinamarca y dijo que, bueno, que muy sencillo, no es necesario llegar a esa situación de una situación catastrófica, porque si la situación comienza a empeorarse, simplemente se vuelve atrás de la decisión y, bueno, y se vuelve a imponer las restricciones, lo cual es muy sensato, muy coherente, ¿no? I have to understand something. What about the borders? The borders for communitarians, for European communitarians, and for foreigners, no? Tourists, for example, because let's imagine that the situation is controlled internally in the country, but and people are vaccinated, etc. But well, one thing is to keep the country closed, so you keep that safe, that bubble, for example. And the other situation is exposing the country to interactions and exchange with other people probably infected and bringing other versions of the virus as well. No. So there are some new, do you know if there are some dispositions about the borders of Denmark for Europe and for other countries as well? Le pregunto si, ¿qué pasa con las fronteras? Si Dinamarca va a abrir las fronteras, porque una cosa es controlar internamente con la población que ya está vacunada, otra cosa es abrir las fronteras y recibir personas desde afuera que podrían traer infección también. Nis.
Well, our borders are open. And I think they will remain open. We have a system in the European Union where you basically operate with open borders. Depending on the situation in other countries, you will ask people to have a test.
No, borders in many countries, most of European countries of the community are closed, except if you are vaccinated with European vaccines, by the way. It's open, but not like this. Like you have to have the passport, the COVID passport somehow. You cannot enter many countries if you just have the PCR tests.
Well, in Denmark you can.
Okay.
And I think but I think you have to understand that we are not trying to get zero COVID in Denmark.
Okay.
We're not trying to keep out the disease. We accept that the disease is here, but the population in general is protected to a degree where we hope that the disease will now not overwhelm the hospitals.
Muy bien.
So that So that means you don't have to close your borders and keep everybody out, because if one comes in, it's like, well, no problem. We can have one more infection.
Well,
that's okay.
and specialists say that a little bit of contact is also good to help the immunity, right? Because you expose yourself, not like being very close, but like a small contact. Let me translate what you said, please. Dijo que, bueno, que entonces el país tiene las fronteras abiertas y no tiene por qué preocuparse porque, bueno, precisamente la población está protegida, está inmunizada y podría continuar así. La política de fronteras de Dinamarca es abierta. Ok, Nis, muchísimas gracias por tu tiempo, por estar aquí, por traernos información. Thank you very much for your time, for bringing this precious information. And well, I invite you to leave your social media if you want, because I could read your article. I don't speak Danish, but I could translate easily just from my browser. So I could read your very, very well written article, which is, by the way, the reason that I invited for this interview. So if you want to invite the Spanish speaking public for reading you or something, right. And thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
De nada. All right.
Okay, thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
How do you say thank you in Danish?
Tak.
Tak. Ah, danke.